God did not go on vacation and put any of these people in charge to tell me or you what is sinful. And in fact, we know that even the earliest catechism, the one that many of us may have used to study, the Baltimore Catechism, states clearly that our conscience is supreme. Our conscience determines for us what is right and what is wrong. And nobody else has a right to question that. Now, granted, it's helpful if our consciences are well developed. But again, who has the right to say, well, you know, you're voting that way because you obviously aren't educated or aren't whatever? Again, those are all judgments that are being made, and the judgments that are taking place are really draining us so extensively of our energy, of our hope, of our sense of God being with us. And so for us who are all confused and wondering, well, where do we go? How does this gospel relate to us? I hear it as Jesus saying, yes, all that stuff may be very real, may be troubling, may be distracting, may be energy draining, but Jesus is saying, I call you to do your best to continue to believe that the divine presence is within you, and the divine presence exists in you and surrounds you and envelops you, so that through all of this chaos and mess and confusion, you can find some element of peace and security in the abiding goodness of God. And that we are not ones to say, well, one day maybe, and then never anyway. That Jesus wants us to say, I will go, and doesn't care when we get around to saying, I will go, meaning in our case that I will choose to believe that the goodness of God dwells within, and regardless of what else goes on in our world, whatever is confusing, distressing, that we do our best to allow the goodness of God revealed by Jesus to bring us some degree of peace and order, so that we can continue to relate with each other as Jesus' sisters and brothers, that we can, through all of this stuff, sit with each other, listen to each other, and find ways to connect with each other. All of this stuff, call it the work of the devil if we want, all of this stuff can easily work to divide us and to separate us, because we're all basically rolling around in our own doldrums and our own confusion and worry, and how are we ever going to get through this? And parents of dependent children trying to do their work from home as they're trying to also help their children be educated. Children who are basically housebound so much of the day aren't able to associate with their peers to develop their social skills. All these kinds of things that are just simply there. And so through it all, how is it that we can cut through it and again allow the ray of God's sunshine, the ray of God's hope, the ray of God's wisdom to shine into our hearts and allow us some degree of peace, of the ability to see, to say that yes, God is not going to abandon us. God is with us, and God will help us to do our best. If we say, yes, I believe. Yes, I believe that your sacred presence dwells within.